Hello team, welcome back. And in the previous lecture, we have seen that how we can initialize the Docker Swarm cluster on the Docker node. And we also discussed that the Docker is a cluster of the multiple Docker nodes. So now we will see that how we can use the online Docker Swarm cluster or how we can use the online Docker Swarm setup. And this setup is free of the cost. So while you will learning this course further, you need to create the Docker Swarm cluster, right? If you need to follow the labs, whatever the labs we will be doing, then you need to create the Docker Swarm cluster. And Docker Swarm cluster is not just a single node. No, this is a combination of the multiple nodes, right? You may have the two nodes, three nodes, five node, or n number of nodes. So there are the two options. Either you can create the virtual machine on the cloud and you can set up the custom Docker Swarm cluster, right? Which is the ideal way for the production use cases, or you can use the hypervisor or the virtual machine on your local machine. You can divide your machine in the multiple VM and then create a Docker Swarm cluster, which I really don't recommend. And there is a one more way, the third way. We can access the online Docker Swarm cluster on this particular website, labs.playwithdocker.com. This is an online Docker Swarm setup where we can use the Docker Swarm for the practice or training purpose. And this playground is basically provided by the Docker community. So let's see what are the options do we get within the playwithdocker.com. You need to go to your browser and type play with Docker. Hit enter and you will get a Docker playground. The link is labs.playwithdocker.com. You need to open this link, and whenever first time you will open this link, over here you will not get the start button. You will get the login button. You need to click on that login button, and that login will be done by the hub.docker.com. You don't need to create any separate account on this particular website. No, this will by default authenticate with the hub.docker.com credential. So in the previous lecture, we have built it and uploaded a lot of image on the hub.docker.com, the Docker registry. So I believe you already have the account on the Docker registry. If you don't have the account, right, again putting the URL over here, hub.docker.com. Right, this is the Docker registry I'm talking about. So you need to create the account over here. I believe you already have the account because we have seen multiple times that we have pushed the image over here. The playwithdocker.com by default authenticate with the hub.docker.com. So once you will click on the login button, it will directly switch to the hub.docker.com. It will log in your account and render back on this particular web page. Over here, you need to click on the start, and this will start the interface. This is the basic interface which you will see whenever you will launch the session, and you can see the timing over here. This particular session is going launched for the 4 hour, right? Now we are getting a couple of things. We are getting the instances, we are getting this setting icon and this gear icon, then we are getting a new button, add new instance, and over here we are getting some message, add instance to your playground sessions, and all their instance are deleted after this particular time frame. So this is the only drawback with this particular thing, that this will enable you for 4 hour only. But later I will tell you that how this 4 hour is quite sufficient and what is the purpose of this website, so that you get to know that this is the ideal place to practice the Docker Swarm labs. Now, if you want to add new nodes, you need to click on this button. Just click this and it will create a node for you. You see, a node got created. The node name is node 1, and over here you are getting the IP address of this node and the SSH of this particular node. And now over here you can execute any command. Let's suppose we are executing the command docker info. Hit enter and we can see that Docker CE is already installed on this particular node. Let's see what are the version. So Docker version 20.0.7 is installed on this machine, and Docker Compose version 2.23.0 is installed on this machine. Docker is already enabled on any instance. We can check for the Docker Swarm status, and Docker Swarm status is the inactive. Similarly, you can add another node. New node, node number 2 got created. We can check the Docker info, and Docker is installed. It means whatever the nodes we are creating over here, the node creation time is quite quick. As soon as you will click this button, a new node will be available for you, right? You will have the complete nodes. And Docker CE is already installed on these all the nodes. Node number 2, node number 1. It means Whatever the node you are creating from here, you don't need to install the Docker on that particular node. Docker is already installed on that particular node. Let's see what is the operating system these nodes are using. So this is the Alpine Linux, right? These nodes are the Alpine Linux. Whenever you want to delete the node, you just click the node and click on the delete. It will delete the node. Similarly, I will perform the delete operation over here. So you can see how helpful it is. Whenever you want to practice something on the Docker, you can simply go to this website, create a node, and you can practice your Docker stuff. You don't need to create the machine separately. You don't need to install the Docker CE on it. You don't need to install the Docker CE, Docker Compose, Docker client on it. Everything is pre-baked on these particular nodes. I will delete the first node as well. And there is a one more thing is available on this particular machine. Let's suppose you are not comfortable with this terminal, right? Whatever the terminal we are using in a browser, right? This is the default terminal. You are not comfortable with this terminal. What you can do, you can use your own terminal. Let me open my own terminal. I will open the terminal. I will maximize the font size, right? So this is my local MacBook terminal. Now let's suppose I want to SSH this particular node which have the IP 192.168.0.13 from my local machine. How we can do that? You can simply copy this. I will click this icon, or I can copy this. Please make sure you will copy from the very starting of this up to the end. Copy this, go to your terminal and paste it here. Hit enter. Just wait and you can see you are on the node 192.168.0.17 Docker info. We are getting the complete information. So if you're not comfortable with the browser terminal, you can SSH this particular node in your local machine as well, right? Cat etc OS release Alpine Linux. This is not the Mac operating system, right? It means we are on this particular node. We are accessing this particular node. So this is also a good thing that you can access these nodes from your terminal directly. You don't need to stuck with this particular UI, right? You can create your cluster and you can deal with your cluster within your local terminal. I will exit out from this terminal. I will delete this particular node as well. There are few more icons available like this one, which will set the keyboard type and the instance images and the terminal font size. You can change the terminal font size from here if you want to do that. So this is the native terminal setting. You can do it. And we are getting this icon. This is something interesting. Let's click this. So once you will click this, you see you are getting some templates over here. What is the template? 3 manager, 2 worker node template. 5 manager, no worker node template. 1 manager, 1 worker node template. So what are those templates? These are the templates of the Docker Swarm. You can choose any template. You just need to click any template and that will be activated. Let's suppose I'm going to choose the 3 manager 2 worker node template, and as soon as I will click this, this will start working. And you can see we are getting the 5 nodes over here. What are those 5 nodes? Manager node 1, manager node 2, manager node 3, worker node 1 and worker node 2. What are those nodes? So basically these are the node of your Docker Swarm cluster. As soon as you click this particular template, it has created a Docker Swarm cluster over here. And that Docker Swarm cluster have the 5 nodes as a part of that, 3 manager node and the 2 worker node. If you want to check that, you can go to any manager node and execute a command docker nodes ls. Sorry, docker node, not nodes, ls. Hit enter and you see you are getting output like this. Similarly, if you want to check that from your local machine, right now I'm on the manager 3. Let's suppose I'm on the manager 2. I will copy this, go to my terminal and paste it. Hit enter. You see, it has connected with the manager 1. I can execute the command from here, docker node ls. And over here we are getting the output. We can see that there are the total 5 nodes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are the 3 manager node, right? Manager 1, manager 2, manager 3, and there are the 2 worker nodes as well. All have the status ready, all availability is the active. The engine, the Docker engine is used in all 5 nodes is the 24.0.7. Now, where is the difference? Difference is here, the manager status. You can see the manager status we are getting only for the 3 nodes, the manager node 1, manager node 2, and the manager node 3. Rest for the worker node, we are not getting the manager status. Why? Because these are not the worker nodes. And one more thing you are getting, that out of these three manager node, only one is the leader, right? This is the leader. Rest two are just the reachable. So that's the same thing which we discussed in the raft algorithm, that it will choose a one leader, and this is the leader who will schedule each and everything in the Docker Swarm cluster. So team, this is the way how you can set up the Docker Swarm cluster in just couple of seconds on the playwithdocker.com. And the good thing is you don't need to pay anything to anyone to create these particular clusters and to use these cluster, right? In a single session you will be able to execute this cluster for 4 hours, and that is a great thing. 4 hours is a quite long period to practice anything. But this system is not ideal for the production. This system is just for the development purpose or training purpose or learning purpose. And why I'm saying this? Because the time is limited. After the 4 hour, the complete system will be auto deleted. So whenever you want to practice anything about the Docker or the Docker Swarm or the Docker Compose, you can use this particular system instead creating your own cloud machines, because here you don't need to pay anything, and all the thing, whatever the thing you want to use, that will be pre-set up on this particular cluster. Whenever you need the production system, you can go to the custom system. Whenever you need a specific version of the Docker Swarm or Docker C, you need to set up your own system, because this will come with the latest version of the Docker package. So that's all about the play with docker.com team, and this have a lot of advantage. Now similarly, if you want to delete this particular cluster, you can go and delete any node, or you can delete node by node, right? This will delete, or simply you can close the session. As soon as you will close the session, it will delete all the instances, whatever the instances got created as a part of your session, and it will be all done. So that's all about the playwithdocker.com, and this is a very good utility, very good tool, where you can learn and practice the Docker Swarm. You can learn and practice the Docker and Docker Compose as well. That's all for the day, team. Thank you. See you next time.